Are your chances of winning the lottery about as good as your chances of picking the right stock? Or are you better just throwing darts at the financial pages of the newspaper? Well, our next guest has written a book about probabilities. He says by understanding the concept of randomness, we can use it to our benefit. Jeffrey Rosenthal is a professor at the U of T and author of Struck by Lightning, The Curious World of Probabilities. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's pretty interesting. I mean, you go through, first of all, it's interesting that somebody who does this the way you do, right in the theory of it, can bring it down to the level of how to win at poker. But you do that in this book. It's fascinating.
Well, thank you. That's the idea, is to make something accessible to everybody, regardless of their mathematical background.
Which is hard to do. Can you use probabilities for things like stock picking?
Well, I mean, you can certainly use it to get a perspective, we could say, what I call the probability perspective. So I sort of see the whole world in terms of probabilities and randomness and uncertainty. So stocks, of course, are based on probability. I mean, if there was no uncertainty, then we'd all buy the same stock and we'd all agree what the price was going to be. So to me, the uncertainty, the randomness is what makes the market, and it's sort of what makes it interesting. Now, I'm not going to tell you I know what stock you should buy tomorrow because I study probability theory, but it does provide a way to think about stock markets and a whole bunch of other things, as I discussed.
I got a more personal question.
Okay.
You were at Harvard when you were 24 doing your PhD. You could have done anything. What is it about probability theory that attracts you?
Well, I appreciate your saying that anyone who does probability theory can do anything. I hope everybody agrees with that. Well, I've always enjoyed probability theory. I mean, partially just the idea of that it's a mathematical area, but it applies to so many different things. So anything from whether our airplane's going to crash, or we're going to win the lottery, or the terrorists are going to strike, or whether we're going to catch the bus, or whether we ask someone out on a date, they're going to say yes or no. There's so much uncertainty and so much randomness in our lives. And studying probabilities, as I say, it doesn't mean you necessarily know this is the probability and this is what's going to happen for sure. But it does mean it provides a way to see the world. It provides a way to see what things are really unlikely, so we shouldn't worry about them, like being attacked by a terrorist or being killed by terrorists, or what things are so unlikely, so we shouldn't hope for them, like winning the jackpot in the lottery, or for other things like whether we're going to hold a wedding outdoors, but it might rain, to understand how that uncertainty, how that probability, how we can make decisions based on that.
Now, we do, of course, all employ the rules of probability in minor ways. We decide if we're going to have the wedding outdoors fairly easily. In more complex ways, whole industries are built up on our ignorance. Insurance would be one of them. And do they benefit from that? If we all understood probability better, would that business be in trouble?
Well, in a way, yes, and in a way, no. So I always make the analogy of the insurance industry to casinos and to gambling. So casinos make a lot of money, and the insurance industry makes a lot of money. And they do it kind of the same way, in a way, because in a casino, some gamblers are going to get lucky and they're going to make a lot of money. Other gamblers are going to be unlucky and they're going to lose a lot of money. But on average, gamblers lose just the tiniest bit, so it means that when lots and lots of people gamble, overall the casino makes money, and overall it's not in your interest to go to the casino except for fun, but not to make money. And with insurance, it's kind of the same thing, that the insurance industry makes money because on average, people spend more on premiums than they benefit from payments. But the difference with insurance is that sometimes it could be that things are so catastrophic for you. You've lost your house and so on, that, say, the $500,000 that the insurance company gives you might, to you, be sort of worth more than $500,000. It might save you from a life of misery and financial ruin, and that's sort of more important than the money. Whereas to the insurance industry, it's just the money. And that's why there can be times when the insurance industry's happy and you're also happy, because you don't have the same evaluation of what that money's worth. But to the extent that money is money, insurance is just like gambling, and the odds are against you.
Where would you like to see this go? You have this knowledge, you have this incredible ability to put things into this perspective and look at the odds. Where would you like it to take you? What would you like to see change as a result of your knowledge and your abilities here?
Well, one thing is that sometimes people behave sort of in ways that aren't very rational because they don't really think about it. I do, sorry. Of course not intelligent people such as here, but some other people. And in ways that, for example, when SARS was a big deal in Toronto a few years ago, and so many people wouldn't come to Toronto or even anywhere in Canada because, oh my gosh, I could get SARS. And more people died of the flu in Canada that same year, ordinary flu, than died of SARS, and yet nobody changed their travel plans because of flu. Or similarly with terrorism, let's say. People say, oh, I'm not going to travel to that country because I heard there's been a terrorist attack. Well, for example, if you look at countries that when there's terrorists, usually more people are killed in ordinary automobile accidents than were killed by terrorist attacks, even in that same period of time. And yet no one says, I'm not going to travel because of automobile accidents. So one thing I would hope is that people would get a better sense of what are the relative odds and make decisions sort of based on just an understanding not even of the exact probabilities, but just a rough idea that things that are really unlikely are less worrisome than things that are more likely. And that sounds kind of obvious, and yet people often don't think that way.
Are you personally a risk taker?
Not especially. I mean, I guess in a way I have a pretty good life as it is, and so I don't want to say, heads I get an even better life and tails my life is miserable.
What are the chances?
Yeah, I do enjoy things. For example, I do enjoy playing poker, and I do enjoy learning about discussing stocks and such things. I enjoy them sort of as a bit of a hobby, but I wouldn't want my whole life to be riding on the next card.
Has anyone taken advantage of this? Has anyone come to you and said, I want to learn how to do this better or be smarter about it? Or is there other ventures that have led to this as a result of your studies?
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, often people, they want to know, hey, I've got this system for whether it's, for gambling or for buying lottery tickets or for investing or for just the way I run my life and so on. And people say, can you help me figure out if this is really valid or not? And yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think with just a little bit of understanding of probability, you can go a long way. Again, you can't necessarily say how to make money on the stock market or this or that, but you can say, well, this makes sense because of this basic principle, or this doesn't make sense. And certainly some things that people believe are more what I put in the category of superstition kind of things, or they say, I believe that, if you're playing craps and you roll it and one of the dice falls off the table, that means they're going to lose on the next roll. And I can say, well, no, actually each roll of the dice is independent, and that doesn't make sense. So
I know a 7-year-old who won't forgive me if I don't ask this next question. So what's the secret to rock, paper, scissors?
Rock, paper, right. So rock, paper, scissors, I discuss in the book, is an example of how to use randomness to help you make decisions. So usually we think, randomness is kind of bad. We don't know what the stock price is going to be. We don't know if it's going to rain. We don't know if the plane's going to crash. What can we do to minimize the randomness? What can we do to increase our understanding? But there's times when actually randomness helps you. So actually in my own line of research, we use randomness as part of our computer algorithms to help compute things which are too complicated to compute on their own. So that's a high-level example, but going back to rock, paper, scissors, for example, if somebody's playing rock, paper, scissors and you think, boy, they're a champion, they actually have world championship rock, paper, scissors, and they say, boy, this guy, he can probably look in my eyes and see what I'm going to do, and he can outsmart me, and he can remember my whole history. Well, just get a 6-sided die. Roll it every time. If it comes up 1 or 2, say rock. If it comes up 3 or 4, say paper. And if it comes up 5 or 6, say scissors. And there's nothing they can do. No matter how smart they are, you're going to have an equal chance of winning or losing each time. And it doesn't matter how clever they are. And that applies in a lot of other things. If you think they're going to outsmart you, well, you can use randomness so that they can't guess.
I'm going to try that at home.
Did you get all that?
I did. Not the computer algorithm part. Jeffrey Rosenthal, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Jeffrey Rosenthal. And the book is called Struck by Lightning, The Curious World of Probabilities. Stay with us. It's Play of the Day time.